Today we're going to talk about a trillion-dollar magic trick. It takes a company worth billions and transforms it into a trillion-dollar empire. It takes a battery from the lab and elevates it to a status of greatness. It turns the concept of engineering cost-saving into life-saving technology. The trick is called the BYD battery, and its catchphrase is simply the safest battery in the world. This phrase has been repeated countless times, eventually becoming accepted as truth. It has become the reason for consumers to buy without hesitation. It has become the myth of outperforming Tesla, and in the media it has been referred to as China's automotive miracle. BYD did not blatantly lie. Such tactics would be too simple. Instead, they employed a more sophisticated approach. They designed a cognitive trap. They did not claim the battery could survive a nuclear explosion. They simply made consumers believe that in an emergency, this car could save their life. They did not describe this as a breakthrough worthy of a Nobel Prize. They merely implied that this was a technological revolution capable of reshaping the industry. So, what is the truth? Let's take a closer look behind the scenes. The reality is that BYD's so-called structural innovation aimed solely at reducing production costs by 30%. The reality is that BYD's volume optimization actually comes with a major drawback: an unrepairable dead end. If one cell swells, the entire pack becomes useless. There is no option for repair because the entire pack must be replaced. The money saved on the car purchase will be spent bit by bit at the dealership. The reality is that BYD is not eliminating safety, rather it is hiding the risk in places consumers cannot see. Lower production costs benefit the company, but the added risk are passed on to the consumer. This is not a technological revolution, it is a business strategy. It is a carefully designed risk-shifting project. BYD has taken its cost-saving engineering logic and packaged it as a blind trust for consumers. It has polished its financial reports and concealed any potential risk, explosions, fires, or breakdowns, and left those consequences to the consumer. The goal is not to provide greater peace of mind for the consumer, but to ensure comfort for BYD's shareholders. Consumers and their families are the hidden costs behind the company's polished financial statements. The truth behind the BYD battery. The so-called BYD battery has been greatly hyped, but it is neither a new material nor a new chemical process. The core idea is simple: saving money. The approach is straightforward. In the past, battery packs were made by placing individual small cells into small boxes, modules, and then putting several of these small boxes into a big metal box, the battery pack. BYD decided that this was inefficient and wasteful of space. Instead, they eliminated the small boxes and made the cells longer and thinner, like blades. These blades are tightly packed into the metal box, allowing for more cells and theoretically longer range. But the key issue lies in the details that were cut out. The battery management system, BMS, uses two methods to estimate the battery charge accurately. The first is the accounting method, also known as current integration. This is the primary tool. It starts with 100% charge and subtracts the energy used as the battery drains and adds the energy put in during charging. While this method works well in the short term, over time, it accumulates small errors, which causes the account to no longer align perfectly. To adjust these errors, the BMS uses a second tool, voltage calibration. But there is an issue. BYD's BYD battery uses lithium iron phosphate, LFP, which exhibits nearly identical voltage levels at both 90% charge and 20% charge. During long-term discharge, the BMS struggles to interpret the situation because the voltage remains largely unchanged. The most dramatic moment occurred when the BMS accounting system, due to long periods of ineffective calibration, began accumulating errors. The system displayed that the battery still had 50% charge, but the actual remaining charge was likely only 20%. At the same time, the LFP battery's voltage began to drop sharply. The BMS, noticing the voltage plummet, corrected the display, immediately reducing the indicated charge from 50% to as low as 10% or even lower. Car owners watched as the estimated range dropped dramatically from over 200 kilometers to just a few dozen, leaving the car stranded on the road. So why hasn't BYD properly addressed this issue? First of all, this feature is the inherent chemical property of LFP batteries, which is the price BYD pays in exchange for the huge advantages of long life and low cost. BYD had to accept the limitations of LFP's behavior when selecting this technology. Could a more sophisticated BMS system capable of detecting even the smallest voltage fluctuations and internal resistance changes solve this problem? The answer is yes, but it would require more powerful chips to run complex algorithms such as advanced Kalman filters and far more precise sensors. That level of hardware would significantly increase BMS cost, which ultimately would be passed on to the vehicle's purchase price. BYD's choice of the LFP blade battery offers a key advantage in safety and cost control. To maximize these benefits, BYD chose a component but not top-tier BMS. While the system is effective at handling basic safety and management functions, it lacks the precision needed for accurate charge estimation. BYD has partly mitigated this imprecise estimation risk through user education. For example, 4S stores often recommend that owners charge their batteries to full once a week and let the vehicle sit for a period of time. This helps the BMS recalibrate by allowing it to detect the clearest signal when the battery is fully charged, thereby reducing the likelihood of sudden drop in charge. Ultimately, this is a trade-off between business and technology. BYD used a competent BMS in combination with the cost advantages of LFP batteries to provide a vehicle with market competitiveness. The inaccurate estimation risk is an inevitable side effect of this trade-off. In addition, the blade battery functions almost like a pressure cooker. To save space, more than 100 blades are tightly packed together with adhesive, leaving almost no gaps. Considering that charging and driving cause the battery to heat up, the outermost cells can dissipate some of the heat. However, the cells in the middle are trapped, unable to release the heat and becoming effectively sealed in. What happens when heat cannot escape? The battery is filled with chemical materials. When these materials are overheated, they start to degrade, producing excess gas. Over time, this gas builds up and causes the battery shell to bulge. Once the battery swells, the internal temperature rises. When it reaches an uncontrollable threshold, the chemical reaction inside the battery can completely spiral out of control, releasing a massive amount of heat, potentially causing fires or explosions, which could then ignite neighboring cells, leading to a chain reaction. Therefore, once a battery begins to swell, it is no longer a functional battery. It becomes a ticking time bomb that could overheat and fail at any moment. Now, if the battery swells or if one of the blades fails, can the individual part be replaced? The answer is no. Since all the blades are glued together onto one solid unit, they cannot be removed individually. The only solution at a 4S store is to replace the entire pack. If one small cell fails, the entire pack is replaced. If the charge drops quickly, the whole pack is replaced, and the cost, often several thousands to tens of thousands of yuan, with some owners being charged up to 70,000 yuan, almost the price of a new car. Even more concerning is the strict warranty policy. If a vehicle is repaired outside authorized service centers, the software can lock the car, leaving it unusable. A repair professional has expressed disbelief, saying that after decades of working on cars, this is the first time he's heard of someone being sued or even jailed for repairing a battery. The car purchase doesn't come with full repair rights, which becomes clear when examining the so-called blade battery. BYD reduced manufacturing and assembly costs by eliminating the battery modules and saved the cost of high-end BMS by cutting corners with a less advanced battery management system. Also, by gluing everything together and preventing repairs, they ensured a significant profit from replacing entire packs where needed, pushing the financial burden onto consumers. This is a clear example of a risk-shifting operation. Production costs have been minimized, financial reports polished, and all the risks such as thermal runaway, breakdowns, and expensive repairs have been concealed within a battery pack that's not visible to consumers. After-sales nightmare. Several car owners have shared their experiences. BYD's LFP blade battery is affordable but has inherent weaknesses in low temperatures. At minus 10 degrees Celsius, the battery capacity can drop dramatically, possibly as low as 20%, while NCM batteries can handle temperatures as low as minus 30 degrees Celsius. BYD's battery enters hibernation mode much earlier. When theory meets reality, the dashboard might show a range of 500 kilometers, but in -10 degrees conditions in northeast China, the car would only travel 152 kilometers before breaking down. Using air conditioning in such conditions is impossible. The issue isn't just that the battery has low tolerance, it also suffers from sudden failures. Power loss on highways has become a recurring problem, nearly a signature issue for BYD. One owner's experience highlights the worst-case scenario, driving down the highway with a full battery when suddenly everything goes dark. The power cuts out completely and the screen goes dark. At high speeds, this several-ton vehicle quickly becomes a lifeless machine, relying solely on inertia to coast to the emergency lane. The owner's voice shakes as he recalls, "I'm coasting by inertia, slowly making my way to the emergency lane." Imagining being stuck in the middle of the road while large trucks are speeding by, their horns blaring as they pass dangerously close. At that moment, there's little to do but hope for the best. How did this car suddenly stop functioning? Let's take a look at a mechanic's unboxing video for some insight. The mechanic disassembles a BYD battery pack, revealing a concerning scene. The blade batteries inside are far from flat. Many are swollen, distorting the metal casing. The mechanic points out that if two cells short-circuit, the battery could ignite immediately. The car owner is essentially driving with a ticking time bomb every day. It's fortunate that no one was injured when the car broke down, but the financial implications are severe. The owner had the car towed to a 4S store where the diagnosis revealed several failed cells with zero voltage. Due to the integrated blade design, the battery couldn't be repaired individually. The only solution is to replace the entire battery pack, costing 70,000 yuan, which is already half the price of a new car, at around 100,000 yuan. The poor car owner stared at the quote in shock, feeling as though he was being robbed. It's frustrating when a car breaks down, and even more so when repair costs skyrocket. What makes matters worse is BYD's after-sales service, which has drawn heavy criticism for being particularly unhelpful. Here's how the process typically unfolds. The car is taken to an 4S store for inspection. The store promises to assess the issue, but the process drags on for 3 to 5 days with no updates. When the customer follows up, they are told that the test results have been sent to the manufacturer and they're now waiting for a response, leading to even more delays. After more waiting, the store eventually says, "We don't have the final say on this matter. There's nothing we can do. We can only help you urge the manufacturers on this." This prolonged process can test anyone's patience. As one car owner noted, what started as a minor issue quickly grew into a much bigger problem because of the constant delays. Some may wonder why these cases and videos seem outdated. The truth is that the real issue haven't disappeared. They've been carefully suppressed. Posts and videos with clear evidence of problems are often deleted or hidden, ensuring they never reach the public. While repair costs are a burden and after-sale servicing is frustrating, the real issue lies in the systemic suppression of information. Consumers who are victims find their voices silenced. The sense of powerlessness is far more concerning than simply having a car break down on the road. The end of the myth and epic of collapse. A product that is fundamentally flawed in its technology and service will eventually face significant market consequences. Let's look at Europe, once considered BYD's second home. In 2024, when thousands of BYD cars were shipped to Germany, they generated significant media excitement. Many believed a major innovation had truly arrived, but reality quickly delivered a harsh blow to these expectations. In Germany, Europe's largest car market, BYD's market share for 2023 were as mere as 0.1%. The thousands of cars proudly delivered to the port remained unsold, accumulating dust, mold, and oxidized electronic modules. In the first quarter of 2024, BYD ranked 16th in sales across Europe, a far cry from the bold promises the company once made. Finally, in July 2024, the European Union imposed a 17.4% punitive tariff on Chinese electric vehicles after months of anti-subsidy investigations. This official ruling sent a clear message: BYD's cost performance was built on unfair subsidies, and now the company would pay the price. If the collapse in the European market was a commercial death certificate, the next blow came from national security systems in other countries. For example, in Israel, every piece of equipment must meet vigorous standards not just be acceptable but flawless. In the winter of 2024, BYD was forced to exit the market. Israel's Ministry of Defense issued an official notice halting the distribution of BYD cars to military officers and ordered a full security review of all Chinese electric vehicles. The reasons cited were not about range or price, but two words that could make any government nervous: data security and espionage risk. Israel's Cyber Command warned that these seemingly high-tech electric cars could easily function as mobile data collection platforms. Every sensor, camera, and microphone in the car could, without warning, collect, track, and upload data. When a country's most vigilant institution, the military, publicly rejects a product, it signals that the company is no longer trusted and has become a threat. This is a systemic collapse of trust. No brand can survive the spy car label. The collapse of Empire's stronghold. The European market bubble burst, and the hammer fell in Israel. Many believed the Chinese domestic market would serve as a stronghold, but the collapse came much faster than anticipated. In May 2025, BYD launched an unprecedented price cut, with discount of up to 34%. It was the company's final attempt to mask the struggles and an admission that it could not maintain its position. However, the market's response was not gratitude. It was a retaliatory abandonment. The price cuts led to a sharp increase in inventory, with 150,000 more vehicles sitting unsold in dealerships, forcing many to face financial collapse. The market share for EVs dropped to 26% as the market made its judgment. In mid-July, BYD's stock dropped over 10% for 3 consecutive days, and its market value evaporated by hundreds of billions. This isn't just the cost of a price war, it's the collapse of a myth. When the story can no longer continue, when subsidies stops, when external markets close, and when internal customers abandon the brand, the true nature of the empire becomes clear. It was built on a foundation that was more fiction than reality. The grave of conscience, the end of an era. When technology fails, the market collapses, and reputation is shattered. The story might seem over, but the final question remains: what is the root cause of all these chaos? Is it the company's culture of exploitation, exposed when 163 workers were found living in slave-like conditions at a factory in Brazil? Is it a company's ethical practices, accused of prioritizing production quotas over environmental standards? Or is it a corporate culture marketed by exploitation, bullying, and a lack of regard for employees and partners? History doesn't repeat itself, but it often follows a familiar pattern. A company that lacks basic respect for its employees, partners, and communities, how can it be expected to treat its customers with warmth and goodwill when handing over a product wrapped in risks?